Welcome to today's heated debate on a controversial topic. Can black people be artists? Now, this is a question that sparks passionate discussion and invites a wide range of perspectives. In today's video, we take a look into this contentious issue as we explore the arguments presented by this palm color woman who challenges the notion that black people can be artists. But before we get into the debate, I want to encourage all of you watching to join the conversation in the comment section below. Share your thoughts, opinions, and reasoning on whether you believe black people can be artists or not. So get ready for a lively and thought-provoking debate. But for now, check out this video, and when I get back, I share my 2 cents on this, and then we get to talk more in the comment section. Here's the video.
So I have a very deep issue with anybody coming in my comment section and calling black people racist. Now, I feel like this is a perception issue and an internalized racism issue. Black people lack the power to be racist. There are not enough black people in power for there to be a power structure of black racism against white people. Our system is set up against black and brown people. It's set up for us. This is where white privilege comes into play. We have white privilege because we're white, because we live in a power structure that is geared towards helping white people, lifting up white people, and absolutely crushing anyone who is not white. The black community has never stopped me from getting a job. There is no mass incarceration of white people. There's no underfunding of the education system of white people, except maybe in poor communities, because our system also loves to punish the poor, which is why they keep black and brown people redlined in the ghettos and underfund their education. Without a proper education, it is very hard to succeed. But also, I saw this clip of Minister Farrakhan. I believe he was on Donahue, for those who are old enough to remember Donahue. And he made such a good point. A white woman has stood up and said that she feels what they fear is violence from the black community. Violence from the vicious truth that Minister Farrakhan was speaking. Violence. And his response to her was, black people don't have a history of being violent to white people. They don't have a history of murdering white people. They don't have a history of genocide. They don't have a history of chattel enslavement. They don't have a history of buck breaking. They don't have a history of mass incarceration of white people. They don't have a history of redlining white people. They don't have a history of doing any of the shit that we did. That's our history. Our history. And we project onto the black community everything that our community has done to them. We call them violent, even though we Have you ever heard the song Strange Fruit? If you have not, please, I can't think of who sings it off the top of my head, and that is a shame. But there is a song called Strange Fruit. If anyone knows the singer, please put it in my comment section, or I'll look it up and I'll put it in. Literally hung black people so much that a woman made a song about how black bodies hanging from trees are strange fruit. We burned their bodies in the middle of the fucking street for nothing more than them being black. Black codes, voter suppression, Jim fucking Crow, deconstruction of Reconstruction, the Tulsa Massacre, Redwood, Axe Handle Saturday. Look up the massacres that took place. I believe it was North Carolina when black people were thriving and they were getting into political positions and they were voting and they were involved. They destroyed that town. White people destroyed that town. White supremacy destroyed it. Anytime black people have tried to get a leg up and become successful, white supremacy has destroyed it to this fucking day. We literally just acknowledged Juneteenth as a federal holiday 2 years ago. Most people didn't know about Juneteenth until 2 years ago. And we are whitewashing their history. We are trying to erase their history, their pain, their struggle, their truth, because of what we did. Because our parents and our grandparents don't want us to know the atrocities that they committed. Now all of a sudden white people want to act civil. Like we got some sense, like we're not barbaric, like we're not fucking animals. All of a sudden white people just forgot how bad racism was and is. All of a sudden now white people have the fucking caucasity to call black people racist. If the black community, any member of the black community that hates white people, and there are actually a lot fewer than you might think, most of the black community is loving, caring. They will embrace you. They will love you. They do not hate. I've lived in a black community for a couple decades now. I've never received any hate. I've had conversations. I've had people ask me questions, but I've never been beaten up because I was white. I've never been anything worse because I'm white. I've never experienced any form of racism from a black person. But don't you feel like the black community has every right to hate us? Don't you honestly feel, if you look at our history, if you look at what we have done and continue to do you not think that the black community has every fucking right to despise us just based on our history? We want to believe that they're violent, that they're a bunch of gangbangers, that they're criminals and rapists and thugs because of what we see on the news, which is propaganda, but we want to completely bypass our actual fucking history of barbarism, being barbaric, of brutality, of violence, of rape, of genocide. But then want to look at the black community like, what's your problem? You need to get over it. But if that's the case, then fuck 9/11, fuck Pearl Harbor, fuck Memorial Day, fuck Independence Day, fuck 1776, fuck all that shit. If you want black people to get over the atrocities that took place for fucking centuries and still continues to this day, then fuck you and every fucking white holiday and white don't forget bullshit. Fuck all of that. Until black pain, black struggle, black history is recognized, I refuse to recognize any of that other shit because it doesn't fucking matter. Black people cannot be racist. They can be prejudiced if you want to call it that, but in my opinion, they have every fucking right to hate us. And I am shocked that more black people don't hate us than actually do. Because if I'm being honest, there's a big part of me that hates us for what we've done. There's a big part of me that's fucking enraged at us because of what we have done to them. I can't find anything, nothing historically that black people have done to white people that could possibly make me hate them or think that they're violent or animalistic like we are.
One of the fundamental aspects of articism is the presence of power dynamics. Articism isn't just about prejudice or discriminatory attitudes. It's about wielding power and privilege to systematically oppress others based on race. In many societies, including those in the Western world, power structures have historically been dominated by palm-color individuals. Now, this imbalance of power means that articism is often perpetuated by those in positions of authority, while marginalized groups such as black people lack the systemic power to enforce racial oppression on a broad scale. The palm-color woman's argument highlights the existence of institutional articism, which refers to the ways in which societal institutions such as government, education, and the criminal justice system perpetuate racial inequality. These systems are often structured in ways that disadvantage black and brown individuals while privileging palm-color individuals. For example, studies have shown significant racial disparities in areas such as employment, housing, education, and healthcare. all of which contribute to the perpetuation of systemic articism. The concept of WP acknowledges the advantages that palm color individuals inherently possesses in society simply by virtue of their race. WP doesn't mean that all palm color people are wealthy or successful. Rather, it refers to the systemic advantages that come with being perceived as normal or default in society. This includes benefits such as greater access to opportunities, resources, and social privileges, as well as the ability to navigate spaces without fear of discrimination or prejudice based on race. The palm color woman's argument touches on the structural inequalities that underpin modern societies, where systems and institutions are designed to maintain the status quo and perpetuate the dominance of certain racial groups. Now, this structural inequality manifests in various ways, including disparities in income, wealth, education, healthcare, and representation in positions of power and influence. These disparities reinforce racial hierarchies and contribute to the perpetuation of racial injustice and discrimination. Understanding the historical context of articism is crucial for grasping the systemic nature of racial oppression. Throughout history, Black people have endured centuries of slavery, colonialism, segregation, and discrimination, all of which have contributed to the entrenched inequalities that persist today. The legacy of this history continues to shape contemporary society, influencing everything from social attitudes to institutional policies and practices. The points raised by this palm color woman highlight the systemic nature of articism and the ways in which power structures institutionalize discrimination. WP, structural inequality, and historical injustices intersect to perpetuate racial oppression. In many legal contexts, articism is defined not just as individual prejudice or bias, but as discrimination or prejudice backed by institutional power. For example, the United Nations defines articism as any distinction, exclusion, restriction, or preference based on race, color, descent, or national or ethnic origin, which has the purpose or effect of nullifying or impairing the recognition, enjoyment, or exercise on an equal footing of human rights and fundamental freedoms in the political, economic, social, and cultural or any other field of public life. This definition emphasizes the role of power and systemic discrimination in the perpetuation of articism. Numerous studies in the field of social psychology and sociology support the notion that articism is not merely about individual attitudes or prejudices, but is deeply rooted in societal structures and power dynamics. Research has shown that racial bias and discrimination are pervasive in many areas of society, including employment, housing, criminal justice, and education. Now, these disparities are often driven by institutional practices and policies that advantage certain racial groups while disadvantaging others. Intersectionality theory emphasizes the interconnected nature of social identities, including race, gender, class, sexuality, and ability. Intersectionality recognizes that individuals may experience privilege and oppression in different ways depending on the intersection of their identities. For example, while a Black woman may experience articism, she may also face sexism and other forms of discrimination that intersect with her race. By understanding the complexities of intersectionality, I think people can better grasp how power operates in society and how different forms of oppression intersect and reinforce each other. Many Black people can attest to lived experiences of articism and discrimination, both at the individual and systemic levels. These personal accounts provide powerful evidence of the ways in which articism operates in society and the impact it has on individuals' lives. By listening to and amplifying these voices, people can gain a deeper understanding of the realities of racial injustice and the urgent need for systemic change. The recognition of articism as a systemic issue has led to calls for structural reform and social justice movements aimed at addressing institutionalized discrimination and dismantling systems of oppression. Movements such as the Black Lives Matter have highlighted the urgent need to confront systemic articism and work towards racial equity and justice. Now, these movements advocate for policy changes, institutional reforms, and shifts in societal attitudes to create a more just and equitable society for all. Now, I feel the arguments presented by this palm color woman underscore the importance of understanding articism as a systemic issue rooted in power dynamics, institutionalized discrimination, and historical injustices. So, I ask the question again. Can black people be artists? Share your thoughts in the comment section and let's have a conversation.